exclusive early morning broadcasts that will soon be set back to private, so you have just a small window of time to enjoy it. All right. Once again, we know the drill. When I find myself ranting excessively long periods of time, I try to remember to turn my YouTube channel on. Because crazy people just talk to themselves. But those of us who pretend not to be crazy, even though we are, like to talk to a device. And that way, if the neighbors hear us yelling to ourselves, we'll say, oh, no, we were making a YouTube channel. We had viewers. Well, maybe not initially. It's at 0 right now, but you get the point. Oh my gosh. Having a random thought here. When I first moved into this apartment, there's these hills behind my house, and there was these two dudes. These dudes were like, I was like, there's this really I was like, I'm gonna climb to the top of the hill every morning or something. I wasn't sure, but I was having thoughts about it. So it was like the third morning I got here, and I went to go climb to the top of the hill. And you know, the previous 2 times I had thought to myself, I was like, I'm so close to my house, I can kind of see the area around me. If there's any guys out here, if I run into weird men, I feel like I could get out pretty quick, and I'm really good with rocks. Like I'm really good at chucking rocks. I feel pretty safe, right? Like I practice. Like I'll take rocks and I'll throw them at like trees with my right and left hand I'll try to do it when I'm hiking. I'm a little rough around the edges right now, but usually when I'm hiking, I try to do it while I'm hiking, like so like I keep moving while I'm throwing rocks at like a specific tree, right left hand, right left hand, right left hand. That way if I ever had a target, I'd be able to nail them with a rock. And so at a like with it while I'm still moving, like so that I wouldn't have to stop. I'd have a good degree of hitting them at least, and maybe it'd scare them off. I don't know. And not only that, but watching an animal walk through the forest pelting trees with rocks may or may not be prohibitive. I've never really had a problem with mountain lions, I'll be honest with you. I've had the opposite of problems with mountain lions. I've had them leave a spinal column on my front porch. They're not my pets. I think that they were considering that I was on par enough to be considered maybe I don't know. Another time I went out into the forest, and if I told you, you would never, ever believe me. You would think I was lying. Just like you'd think I was lying if I told you that I have for years, there was a dog named Gracie that lived at my house, and that she would take off with coyotes and come back alive. Yeah, when she got tired, she'd come back after like a week and a half. Does she just get out there and run, and then she'd come back and she'd crash for a few days. I'm not lying. It doesn't matter whether you believe me or not. Everybody knows what Gracie did. She would, I was just thinking yesterday, not only would she leave with the coyotes for a week and a half, sometimes she'd go down the neighborhood streets, and she had a way of howling and getting the other huskies to howl, and then she'd get them to open their latches, because huskies are pretty good at open latches of gates, and these other huskies on the block would open the latches and let the other dogs in their yard out with them. And I'm sure I've been debating this. It's possible that there's some other dog leaders on our block, but we lived in the mountains, and a lot of the dog leaders in the yards were huskies because we lived in the mountains. So it tended to be, because pit bulls, life is cold in cold areas for dogs with short hair. It's not as easy to be out there in the yard all day long when you're a pit bull when it's snowy. And so there's a lot of furry, misky, like husky mixes and so on. So I just remember there was a lot of huskies, and they'd open their gate, and like they'd leave and they'd run down the street with her, and she became so known for it that the other people knew it was the dog that lived at my house. And so they came around and they were like, please, our dogs keep getting out whenever she gets out. And I was like, I know I'm like so trying to keep her in, but like I can't. Like I'm not able to make her. So we moved to a more remote area of the forest, quite frankly. And then when she took off in the new area, there was no dogs to get loose, and so we lived on a cul-de-sac. She could go straight off in the forest. Um, it's a true story. Yeah, and then she also hung out with mountain lions once for a week when we were snowed in, and was seen running with a cub up and down the block. The 3 mountain lions stayed on top of my house, and that's when I got the spinal column. I'm not lying. She was a very unusual dog. If you smelled her fur did not smell like it. Okay, all dogs get a certain smell sometimes, but her fur had this smell. You'll smell a little whiff of it here and there, but like her fur had a smell that I can only imagine like a wild animal would smell like a wolf or something. I used to wonder like if she was some kind of weird genetic you know how like people like a mom will have all these children and they're like, but then one of them, nature's just trying out some new tactic. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what was going, like, she continued her ways. She ended up getting, she had to move from my house to another lady's house who happens to be in the same supposed family. And she, from there, did the same exact thing. All the way until one day she came back from one of her runs looking like she was not feeling too hot, and on the way to the vet, she died. There was no bite marks or anything. There's a lot of theories. My theory is that she could have gotten a hold of animals that had eaten poison and eaten just a few too many of them. Because during certain times of year, people get a lot of mice in their yards, and they'll put mouse poison under their house and stuff. And the mice, they could die in the yard, they could die around the yard, they can die in the field nearby. And like what happens is, or other animals can eat it and then wander off. And then when they die, if another animal eats them, eating one of them isn't going to be enough to kill the other animal. But if they've eaten a number of animals who eat the animal poison, then it could kill a coyote or an animal that ate with coyotes, is what I think. So I think she got poisoned from animal poison. The other person, one of the other people involved, thinks that it was like a sudden something else, and I just don't agree, but could be true. I don't know. So, anyways, where were we going this morning? I was in bed, and if I told you what I was very upset about. Oh, look, good morning. Who's here? Somebody has a dinosaur profile picture. I'd like to see that for a moment. I'm not. Look, it's Tristanosaurus. Very nice. I actually have to say that I'm not crazy Tristanosaurus about all of your pictures that you use for your profile. Some of them are, like, what's this? But this one, it looks like a dinosaur. If I was to summarize his mood in one word, it would be... No, I couldn't just use one. I guess I could. I'd name him Chaz. Alright, now, going from there. Somebody named something. Yeah, well, the person's message already got retracted, and I don't know who they were. Message retracted. Does that mean you took it back yourself? Okay. Oh, am I supposed to be glad that you took it back yourself and I didn't have to, like, get mad at you? What's going on here? Zinadab, you wrote something inappropriate. And, but then now I don't have to because you took it off. Thanks. Or did you go 2 hours live last night? What did you discuss, Dead Wolf? And what was your discussions about? Have you had your coffee? I still remember that you said that you're a racist, Dead Wolf. There's this guy called the Black Atheist, and he is literally like, so Jeffrey Doherty is not like a racist. He's more like a segregationist racist, which is different. The Black Atheist is the same kind of racist as Jeffrey Doherty, just in a different angle. Literally, if you go watch his channel, you'll learn just as many things that will get you like, oh, wow, I never really, oh, that's another good point. But then you'll be like, but then all of a sudden you'll hear him and he'll go, the Black Atheist, he goes, these religions from, like, if you're going to really have to get a religion, he's like, these religions from the Middle Eastern people are not your natural religions. This is not from the area that you come from. And the religions from the area you come from are going to be better fitted for you and your ancestors than these religions. And, like, he just starts to go through them. He uses a lot. He's still an atheist. I don't think he's telling people, like, if you're not going to be religious, like, you might end up doing it. But he's like, because some people just do it. I think that's the angle he's coming from. But, like, if you're going to do it, like, these are legitimately not the religions of your ancestors. Just so you know. And that's what the angle he comes at. And Jeffrey Doherty basically does the same thing. He goes, like, if there is aspects of what they're doing that are from your ancestors, it's been commandeered and changed into something else. So both of these dudes, they don't say things like, I hate white people or I hate black people. No, I never hear either of them ever say anything about hating white or black people. They just think that they want their group to be on the cutting edge of breaking free from this stuff. And if the other group needs help, then they'll give them a holler, and that's fine. They'll help a little bit or whatever. They're not out to kill you. But they're not trying to increase non-segregationary behavior, from what I can tell. They're legitimately segregationists, both Jeffrey Doherty and the Black Atheist. It's not that they hate other racists. It's that they don't. It's that they think that their own people should follow their own original religions, not the ones they were given by different groups of people from different regions. That your religion is probably, if you're going to have one, it's not that one. Do I have it right? Do you think I'm getting it wrong? Jeff would probably have him on the show. Yeah. Those two would be an interesting show together if they would do it. But I don't know if they would do it together. You'd have to talk to both of them. I'm curious. That is a show. Oh, shit. I would tune in for that show. I would tune in for that shit. And now if we could just find a Japanese segregationist who was trying to get people to turn back to the Shinto religion, or I don't know what Japanese used to do, but so basically there's like the school of thought of guys who think that their people should stay basically separate. They don't hate the other races, but they want their own group to be on the vanguard, getting away from this Christianity stuff. If I'm saying it wrong, Dead Wolf will tell me. If I'm misrepresenting Jeffrey Doherty, go ahead and say something so I can correct myself. Even though you and I are probably like some of the very few people who are even ever going to watch this. No, I do watch The Black Atheist. Here's the thing. I watch both The Black Atheist and Jeffrey Doherty. And because I'm an alien, I sometimes feel, because I'm an alien shapeshifter that can turn into both races, I sometimes are just, I feel like I'm enjoying it so much that I'm like, are they talking about me? They want me off their channel? I'm just kidding. I don't know if I'm kidding or not. That's what the worst part is. I don't know. I've thought about it. If you carry the math out, what are you gonna end up with? You know, my air conditioner's been going so long that it's actually a little bit chilly in my house. In the desert, that feeling of waking up into a chilly house in the is a real nice thing in the summer. Hold on. Love it. No, the black atheist straight up is like based on your, from what I understand, you know, based on your, like, if you come from this region of the earth and you have these ancestors, then you developed, well, Robert Sapolsky's a professor at like Harvard, and he has an entire like thesis thing and books written on how people, like you get polytheists in Amazonian regions, and you get monotheists in arid regions near either like the edges of ridge plates or maybe where there's glacier passing through. And you get animists, I believe, in the center of continental ridges, and that it's been proven and holds up scientifically. Yeah, the actual geography causes the religion. So if your ancestors and your people evolved over thousands and thousands of years in a region, they developed over thousands of years to have a religion. And their body is set up for that religion. And their ancestors are set up for that religion because they were set up for the economy. So what happened is like a group of guys in an arid area near a fault plate zone on the edge of a ridge area in the Middle East basically came up with like some Abrahamic religions that are specific to monotheism, is very specific to a region. But it started to spread throughout the whole earth, and we're getting, I think, in some ways, from my take of it, is that people like Jeffrey Doherty and the Black Atheists are pushing back, saying like, these are not your regional deities, these are not your gods, this isn't even healthy for you, and it doesn't even make sense. Like, if you think about it, monotheism, if you live in an arid ridge plate zone, like, water is scarce, you have to have waterways, you have to have herding animals, you have to have all of these things to live in it. And if you have herding animals and your water is scarce and you have to control the water and you have to do this, you have to do that, hierarchy, right? Like, things develop differently. If you live in the middle of a continental plate, only 15 to 50 people can live on so many acres without completely depleting it, and they have to move around. So like, and in the Amazon, you have a completely different set of circumstances. The circumstances these people evolve in creates the religion that they naturally go to. Trying to fight that creates insanity. I mean, I wonder how many hobos on the street are talking about Jesus because that religion is not natural for their genetic background. And now that they've been exposed to it, it's tormenting them. Right, believing that there's an abstract male deity who's watching over the aqueducts, even when no one else is, who could get you in trouble or make you show up for work tomorrow, is really something you might need in an area like that, possibly. The more proof that goes into that camp, by the way, more proof for that camp's opinion is that it's that in sociology class in college, they teach you that the reason why Christianity like hates slavery and loves capitalism in the 1950s, but loves slavery in the 1800s, and maybe even if you go further back, then loves monarchy and slavery, is because the doctrine shifts. Why does the doctrine shift? In sociology class, they teach you the same thing as what it says in Machiavelli's The Prince. It just says that basically whatever the economy, the kingpin of the economy is for that area, the religion and the doctrines of the religion have to support it, or the religion wouldn't stay around. Because people can't survive without their economy. So religion is always supporting the economy of the region. So the economy of the Amazon produces one religion. Like Robert Sapolsky said, the economy of the ridge plate arid zones with sheep produces another religion. The economy of these other, and then it's multi-generational. Because the people have adapted multi-generationally for thousands of years for the economy of the region that they originally came from, which means that they evolved for the religion of the region, which means they evolved for the religion of the region that they came from. Does that make sense? Then oh man. And more evidence that this is true is that AI can predict who's a poker player, what religion you belong to, what political party you belong to, la la la, with an 80% or so accuracy on average, right? Well, do you know what they downloaded into the AI? Yeah, Chinese and Israeli and other countries from all around the world. There's compiled data on physiometry. And then also the computer then ran every single check that it had, right? Like if you know people's backgrounds and the computer can check their face and run their background and it can do it a certain number of times, it can come up with an algorithm for physiometry on its own. It probably wouldn't even need the ones downloaded. But like it's still, so still, even if with that, however they did it, guess what happened? AI can accurately predict whether you're a criminal and what type of crime you've committed by your face shape with like an 80% accuracy. Now, what that should tell you is that you are acting 80% according to your genetics. All the AI is reading is your genetic profile, because the AI also can read what, like, not every program you look at, but there's expensive programs. I was keeping track when I was first putting my YouTube videos out. I was following different like conspiracy theories and stuff. Some of the videos are for private, but basically, ooh, I just mildly disassociated what we were talking about. It just happened twice. I was going to say something else a minute ago, and now I don't remember what it was. Facial recognition. Okay. So with the facial recognition, they found that okay, so think of it this way. The facial recognition could identify your ethnicity with a very high degree of accuracy. It can also identify like all kinds of traits about your personality with a high degree of accuracy. Well, I'm just trying to say that the two things may not be as disconnected as we think. If people evolve to have a polytheistic religion in one area and a monotheistic religion in another, and they evolve to have another animism in another region of the earth, and this is because sociology teaches us that religion, the doctrines of religion, always support the economy of the region, always. So that means that if they can look at your picture and they can profile your like political party, then they can profile your religious party, then they can profile honestly, like that means that something about your genetics is putting you in a certain religious category. That even goes more strongly to it, whether you like to admit it or not. And then the other thing is, the thing that I think monotheists really get wrong is that everybody understands, like, I think people for the most part get, there's like some algebra, and if you have a 0 and you put you get a +1, you get a -1, right? So like every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So then of course the idea is we came from a singularity. Like, and I think that the thing that monotheists lie about is that they paint animists and polytheists as people who don't believe that there's a singularity. They try to say that monotheists are the only people, that they have a corner market on believing that there was a singularity, so-called, some people like to call a creator, behind everything that you can't really define and be right, or one force that enlivens everything. And then they try to act like they're the only people who believe this. There's mathematicians who believe in the Big Bang. It's basically the same idea. Very much the same idea. Yeah, you take a singularity and you explode it out and get as many equal and opposite reactions in every single direction. And then who's to say it's not spiritual, obviously? So like, then it brings up the question, like, and what is spirituality, right? Like, how are you going to define that? And then, but the thing is that then you say like, no, animists believe there's one force behind everything. It's just that they understand that the one force diversified all of life, and that they don't believe that there's a specific, human organism that's authorized to walk up to another human and tell them that even though this force made all of this life, so diverse, to compete and to fight and to sometimes work together for all of this, that somehow you're supposed to drop your guard and like suddenly turn into an inert, just laying their thing and let the other person do whatever they want to you. They would say to claim that that's believing that there's one creator or one force behind all of life is a perversion. Everybody believes that. Monotheists are not claiming, truly, if they were being honest, their claim to fame is not believing that there is one creator or one force behind everything, because pretty much all the religions believe that. Their claim to fame is that they are authorized to tell other people that even though they have learned otherwise and witnessed otherwise in nature, that all of nature competes in its survival of the fittest and la la la, you're supposed to take another organism's fucking word for it, more than your own word for it, that the one force told you to just lay there and take it from them. Now, if that's not a hunting program, I don't know what to tell you. That doesn't work for me. That does not work for me. That sounds like there's something sick about you that makes you think you have the authority to tell another organism that this one force authorized your one prophet to tell everybody to lay down the rules, and everybody's just supposed to lay and take it from people who live lifestyles that are so fucking questionable in the entire way. It's not just the fucking lifestyles of the people who are trying to purvey it though either, that they never do a goddamn word of what they speak, but like it's also the entire theory doesn't work, because what if the force told me that if anyone walks up to you and tells you they have the authority to tell you that, you have the authority to take their head off at the shoulders? Then what would you do? And what if I won?